Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Shot of Nostalgia. You are joining us for our 23rd episode, where we're jumping down that beautiful ride to 1996 in WCW, where the bad boys play, brother. Ooh, yeah. To relive everything going on in the world of WCW Nitro. And as always, I'm good old Mike Belcaster, and the host with the most, this bad guy right here.
What's going on, Mike Belcaster? Happy to have you back live from the No Cell Studios. Here we are, the ace of the tavern, Stephen ACEFIELD, talking about 1996 WCW. And as we head down that path, we're almost at the end, almost the finale. We head into October, which is beautiful because we are one step closer to Halloween Havoc, man. Brought to you by Slim Jims. I can't wait for it.
Yeah, brother, you know how much we like the Slim Jims around here, you know what I mean? So, Mean Gene.
Is it just me? I keep seeing Slim Jims more and more in the store. I think it's like, again, the whole world's tying together. Go back to a couple weeks ago when I met Kevin Sullivan in person, and then I saw Ernest the Cat Miller work at GCW, and now Slim Jims are appearing everywhere. I feel like Slim Jims was a dying brand, but they're at every counter at every register I've been at the last couple. It's like a sign from the WCW gods.
I'm happy to hear it, man. I've always been a Slim Jim connoisseur, if you will. And listen, they even got the Macho Man branding on the packaging again. It's wild. It's so crazy. It is absolute madness, brother. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to show you the graphic. We have some graphics coming up. Let's show the one beautiful from today, episodes 23 that we're going to be covering. September 30th and October 7th, 2 Nitros. We have some good things to cover. You see big, sexy Kevin Nash having a good moment with that tied bandana. We'll get into that segment, which was awesome. And obviously, you see the little faded thing in the background, top right corner. That's Double J. Jeff Jarrett is here. He feels like he flip-flops more than anybody here from the Monday Night Wars, and I don't know if anybody really cares.
Listen, maybe Jerry Jarrett cares. I don't know.
whatever Jeff Jarrett's mom, she cares, but everybody else is kind of indifferent to him showing up in that Nashville type of garb on Nitro. It felt, we'll talk about it, but it was very out of place.
Totally, yeah. I mean, you can't come full role reversal or roll still from WWF, man. Like, it's just not fucking happening.
The blonde coiffed hair, the weird singlet with all the things cut out of it, and the white tights. The presentation did not fit what they were going for with WCW, and maybe that's why it wasn't so great. Is why he bounced around, because people they were getting sick of him too quickly. So he's like, let me just stay in these different spots. But he'll be back in WWF in no time.
Yeah, no, it's a hot shot here real quick. Imagine Third Man shows up, and that's what we got. Right. Hey, baby! Woo! You're doing the fucking Flair strut. Like, you can't be doing that, man.
So if you guys are just joining us for the first time, Mike Belcaster is referencing something that could have come true. We talked about the possible Third Man if Hogan was the one to back out, because if you remember, Hogan had creative control completely, which means that if he didn't want to do the heel turn, he didn't have to do it. And then they promised the Third Man, so it was either going to be Mabel at the time. We know him as Viscera, Big Bad Vis. It could have been Jeff Jarrett. It could have been Hakushi. Who was the other guys that we talked about? Those three guys are the ones wildly disappointing.
Inferno, yeah. Ion Billy, I don't fucking know.
So also to kind of shill some of the other episodes coming up, next week we will be joined by the One Badge making his return on Shot Nostalgia, and it is the debut of Crow Sting. He's gone into hiatus. Last week we talked about it on this episode, and he disappeared. You feel like WCW turned their back on him, and he's going to hiding. So we're going to see the emergence of this really cool Sting character that still exists today. It's his bread and butter. It's what he's leaning on. There's got to be a reason that you show this Sting for the remainder of his career. Like, he still dresses as a Crow, so it resonated with himself and also the fans.
Yeah. No, listen, it was a revolutionary piece. Way better, way hotter on the topic than Glacier was, and I will sadly admit that, because The Crow was huge, man. It was a huge movie. Brandon Lee, fucking phenomenal. Obviously he passed away during it, so people were clamoring for it. They wanted more Crow. So what better to do it than the Stinger himself?
Yeah, we also, I mean, it's crazy because he had such a legendary Hall of Fame level career. And I bring it back to baseball because I always do, guys. You know, I'm a big baseball mark as we move into MLB postseason. I think about Barry Bonds. He was a Hall of Famer prior to even taking steroids with the Pittsburgh Pirates. And then he goes off to the San Francisco Giants and breaks all sorts of records. And I know it's chemically induced and all that, but it just reminds me of Sting. Like, if Sting would have retired as Surfer Sting at this point in 96, he still would be remembered as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But he went on to have a second chapter, which was equally as great, if not greater, than the way he started. And that it's just a testament to how great Steve Borden really is and the mind for the business to evolve.
Yeah, listen, you're talking 1996. We're in 2022. That's 20 plus years later. And this guy is still fucking doing it. Like, doing it very, very well.
Doing it well.
Yeah, man. It's awesome to see. And he's a good sport about it, man.
So one last shilling of a graphic, because there's a great graphic guy that makes this stuff for us, and he goes by the name of Stephen ACEFIELD. Halloween Havoc, WCW. And we don't have a guest for this episode. And we might have a guest for this episode. Of course, we know. We've been talking about it for months now. Macho Man, Hogan for the title. Hogan with that weird-ass haircut you guys see in the bottom right corner. What the hell is going on with that mullet, skullet, whatever is going on with that? Not a good look for Hogan.
Man. Yeah.
But it's going to be an awesome night of wrestling, and it's going to get right into spooky season. And I love that the schedule aligned. When we put this together and we looked at the schedule, and I was like, this is going to be awesome. We're going to be talking about October pay-per-views, Halloween Havoc. As we move into October, it's beautiful.
Yeah. No, it's great. You know what? I'm super looking forward to that episode. I'm even going to bust out my San Diego Comic-Con exclusive Slim Jim Macho Man. Yeah, I'll have him hanging out in the back right here with us. Because that's what it's all. It's literally the picture that you just showed, but it's in action figure form. It's fucking beautiful.
And is there anyone that's a better ambassador for their brand? Did anyone get more of their money's worth than Slim Jim from a guy like Macho Man? Posthumously, he's still involved in the brand, as you mentioned. You still see him on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, on the commercials and on the brand and on the boxes. And then also, too, think about also WCW. Like, Slim Jim got such a huge bang for their buck with the Slim Jim on the mat. We're still watching it, and the branding. Like, I'm craving Slim Jims watching the show. Goddammit. Absolutely,
man. Everybody loves old newspaper articles rolled up with little pieces of meat. It tastes delicious, but it's good stuff. And like, listen, man, it was a pop culture icon type deal. Like, you couldn't beat a better promotion. Like, it still burns in my head. I would wake up every morning, need a little excitement, snap into a Slim Jim, and you're like, all right, let's fucking go.
I really can't think of a guy. I mean, maybe we're just so stuck in our wrestling world that a brand that is as exclusively with this person that you think of. I mean, George Foreman and the Grills, maybe, but I just think Slim Jims. I think of Macho Man, the word association, the person who had the idea. Like, let's reach out to Randy and say, like, are you interested in doing this advertisement for us? And history from there.
Dude, I used to have this little pamphlet that you would get. I don't know how you got it, but it was the Slim Jim, like, cash in your Slim Jim wrappers, right? So you had to eat the Slim Jim, throw the wrapper in a bag, you save like 10,000 of them, and you were able to get the Macho Man Halloween Havoc red and black gear, you know? And I was like, fuck, I need that. Like, I gunned so hard for it. I never obviously obtained it, but goddamn, what a contest. What a way to sell people.
My
like,
God.
Ring used gear from the Macho Man, cowboy hat, the tassels, the jacket, the pants, good. Man. Oh, brother.
That's bucket list type of stuff, man. And I know on eBay, if you guys follow the eBay stuff, I do. Like, I have Macho Man as one of the keywords I get searches for. Those Macho King tights have still been on sale for the longest time. Those purple tights, ring worn. I think they're like $15,000 or something. Woo. But man,
drop it down to 10, brother. You get a sale.
Like, I would love to have it hanging over there, but awesome.
You got to be hanging brain in the studio. Absolutely.
So we'll go into more shilling later about how you guys can support the show, but you know how to do it. Just check out the turnbuckletavern.com. We got everything going on there. So we're going to be reviewing 2 episodes of Nitro tonight, the September 30th and the October 7th Monday Nitro. And as you know, each week we will be reviewing 2 shows, whether it be a pay-per-view and a Nitro. Sometimes the Clash of Champions messed things up and made us have an extended episode with 3, but as always, we recommend you watch and follow along with us. If you have not watched it yet, maybe pause the video and go watch Nitro, put it on the background, and do this with us because it is a great journey you want to experience yourselves.
We will be waiting here for you if that's what you choose to do because we ain't go nowhere, brother.
We're right here living forever digitally on this platform. But with that being said, let's move into happy hour, talk about the newsletter from September and early October 1996 from our good friend Dave Meltzer. All right, it is happy hour, you guys. Let's get a drink, start sipping on whatever you got in front of you. Get into the news of the newsletter. And man, this is a great newsletter to break down because it seems very appropriate to what's going on in the wrestling world. And I know we say that every week, and I know history repeats itself. But Dave Meltzer really had his finger on the pulse of where the wrestling world was going. And I'll tell you why in a second. But to me, it's been so valuable to go through the newsletter and talk everything about what was going on in 96 because he gave a perspective about not only what was happening in the ring, but what was happening outside the ring and how really wrestling, the more things change, the more things stay the same. The personalities at the top change. It may not be Tony Khan at the top in 96, but there's a lot of shit that was boiling over and coming to a head that they had to deal with.
Absolutely, man. Meltzer's been the guy on the pulse. He's been the one reporting everything since the dawn of pro wrestling bullshit.
He was scribing on a stone tablet, I believe.
He came down from the mountain, and he came down with 12 tablets, and he was like, Sting's a piece of shit. Brian Pillman's all over the place. He's a loose cannon, brother. And it sticks to this day. You've seen the guy in person, a few weeks ago here in Chicago. It's insane. That he's still doing it, man. Still riding that axe. I love it.
Yeah, some historical events. He's star rating them, so he's just like 1997 presidential election, 4 stars.
4 stars.
5 stars in Tokyo, though. That's 5 stars in Tokyo.
But Clinton's is like 3 stars. It's a long story. We'll talk about that a different time.
All right, so let's dive into the newsletter, and man, they open up with some fire here that it could have been written today. So September 30th newsletter, and this is a Dave Meltzer quote. Eventually, the internet will change measuring ratings forever, and that does not have to be taken into account for future planning of the business. But the percentage of wrestling fans with internet and newsletters combined today is probably less than 2%, hardly enough to make an iota of difference in a national rating. We talk about this every week on the AEW show about catering to those fans in the internet, the loud minority of fans, I would say. The casual fans are the majority of people that just turn it on. They're not as invested. They don't get heated. They're not getting mad about the results. They're just here for entertainment. But catering to what AEW did a good job of was catering to these hardcore fans. But I think Dave Meltzer is predicting through the tea leaves that's probably not the best strategy to be successful long term.
Yeah, listen, it's probably in reverse now. There's probably 2% of people without internet that are wrestling fans nowadays. It's crazy to think. Everybody's got something, whether it be a phone, tablet, your PC, your laptop, your MacBook, whatever the fuck it is, you're watching your entertainment on. And Roku's, it goes, your TVs have built-in apps that run off the internet now. There's no, all you need to do is plug the TV in to get shit going. You don't even need a RF cable like we used to have back in the day to pirate the shit. So it's insane to see Dave on the cusp of this, so early on.
Finger on the pulse, and we talk about all the controversy in the newsletter. Obviously, we don't want to get into the details about the Punk and the Elite stuff because it feels like old news at this point. But it really didn't make that much of a difference in the ratings. There was a jump a little bit, but it didn't have this explosion that people probably wanted it, predicted it would happen, or wanted it to be so badly. This game-changing level of fans that want to tune in. Most people that are casual fans had no idea this happened. They just turned on the show and Punk wasn't there. But that's kind of like the AEW vibe anyway. People don't show up for 4 or 5 weeks, and it's people understand that that's kind of the case.
Yeah, no, we talked about this on the wrap up a little bit. Where's Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland going to be in the next month? Probably not on TV. And if they are, it might be on Dark or something. I don't know. It's we're just used to it, so it doesn't really matter if Punk's gone for so long. Punk's been gone for so long since he's been hired. It's
true.
So that's what happens. Shit happens. Life goes on. Tony at least knows how to make sugar out of shit. You know what I mean? That's what he's doing right now. It's good stuff.
So last week you weren't here and we talked about the Nitro where most of the talent was in Japan, but they turned it into an angle. Instead of trying to, I guess, put scotch tape all over it, they emphasized the fact that talent was not there. They were in Nitro. They were not at Nitro. They were in Japan. They leaned on it. They did an angle at the beginning of the show where they put NWO is going to strike while WCW is vulnerable. And this is what Meltzer had to say about that Nitro. He said, World Championship Wrestling was hardly sitting still. With most of its talent in Japan, since the original plan was to do a tape show this week, they practically promised that the New World Order would take over the show, which they did to the point they took out an ad in the USA Today, practically giving the angle away. So I went off on it last week because it was freaking chaos. The second hour of Nitro, I wish you were here to break it down with me. It was the worst possible thing the NWO could do. It upset every match. Nothing made sense. And I know people love chaotic television, but this was so disjointed, so unorganized that it felt messy. And I know that's the point, but I was left like, what the hell is going on? And I'm a fan that's watching, reading the newsletter and knowing where they're going. I still was goddamn confused.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. It would be very interesting to pull the rating from that episode and see if it benefited or not benefited the overall product. Because yes, like you said, people love chaotic shit, but I mean, a clusterfuck's a clusterfuck if you see it from a mile coming, a mile down the road. So it's interesting, and I guess at least they played into it a little bit, but
yeah. I did appreciate that because usually most people would ignore the fact that all your major stars are not there. They probably would have did a taped episode. Say whatever AEW they would try to fill the gaps with different stars and not make it evident that they were gone.
Yeah.
But they leaned into it. I guess they figured if Macho's not there, well, Macho was the only one there. If RIC FLAIR wasn't there and everybody that could potentially help WCW was gone, they had to mention it. It would just be so obvious to everybody that the NWO, they actually took over the second hour of the show and turned matches that were supposed to happen upside down. Six's debut match is just a squash match, and Kevin Nash comes out and destroys High Voltage, and High Voltage is in the main event. It just, man, that's why as a fan growing up watching WWF, that's what I saw on the other end casually, and I was like, I'm not getting involved in that. That's not the product I wanted to see.
Yeah, it's like being the little middle schooler and you see kids like smoking cigarettes outside. And you're like, whoa, we're not doing this, man.
It felt again, and we talk about all the angles, the most famously the stainless steel bats being banged on the steps and two guys could threaten your whole roster and take them out and they're perceived to be from WWF. This felt more of the same. It's like your whole roster is turned into a bunch of geeks that can't control what's going on and there's no order. And I get it, like it helps in the immediate because people are excited about these new characters, but at the core of what they're supposed to be from WWF.
Yeah.
At this point, people are moving away from that, but at the end of the day, they're outside of your company. It makes WCW as a brand minuscule compared to everybody else on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, and plus we got 4 people in the clique already, right? So it's like only 2 of them are from the WWF. So perception's the motherfucker, right? It's whether you're looking at it and you're like these WWF guys that are here, or you're looking at it like these rapscallions that are here fucking up everything. Like it's weird, but it's interesting to see in retrospect, man. Like I wish I was on last week to talk more about it, but I mean, it's not everything goes good. Star Wars was only as good as the first 3 that were filmed. Everything else after that was a fill-in space. You can only have so much meat in the sandwich, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the way it was received then, it's impossible for me to know. Like, I can read the newsletter, I can look at the ratings, but it's impossible for me to look back and say, this is how I would have reacted because, like I said, I wasn't watching, but looking back now, it did not age well. And there's a lot of stuff that we see that even with WWF on the WWF side, there's a lot that like you watch and look at how thin the mid-card is in WWF during the Attitude Era, and everybody waxes poetic about it being the boom of the business and how exciting it was, and you had to tune in every week. The mid-card was filled with Steve Blackman, the Big Boss Man, Val Venus, D'Lo Brown. That was like the crux of your mid-card, where the talent could even touch anywhere near the levels where they're at now. Yeah. But that just speaks to nostalgia is a hell of a drug, as we call the show, Shot Nostalgia. It definitely distorts how people view the product.
Absolutely. And this is a very off random thing to talk about, but TJ Perkins, you're familiar with TJ Perkins?
Of course I am, yeah.
Mr. 205 Live. I seen, I think it was a reel the other day. He started wrestling during the Attitude Era.
Really?
How fucking wild is that? He looks like me and you. Like, he looks like a young, like a strapping young lad. And they were like, yeah, man, this motherfucker started working when The Rock was on TV, like on a bigger level. He wasn't just an indie Joe Schmo.
Right.
That blows my mind.
That is because it's time and place. I mean, think about him in a match with guys that, like I just mentioned, Steve Blackman.
That
is a weird optic to think about because he's so not that era.
Yeah, no, sorry to derail the train, but that was his mindset. He was like, man, I wanted to work Jericho, I wanted to work blah blah blah, and like I wanted to be the cruiserweight division, and it took 20 years.
Crazy, but it just shows. Like, I mean, even some of the other guys we keep seeing pop up here, Mr. JL, Jerry Lynn. We're also seeing obviously different talent that show up. We talk about Crowbar, like he's in here as whatever his name was, a Devin Storm. He shows up as well. And guys, honestly, I wouldn't recognize. If I didn't look it up, I wouldn't know that Devin Storm was Crowbar. It looks completely different. I mean, we literally reviewed the episode of Nitro. It was one of the first ones we did. And I didn't even know. I was like, oh, it's a cool guy that has a very similar like Paul London type of gimmick or And yeah, it's Crowbar.
Mind blown, man. Sorry to derail the train.
No, it's very relevant.
Very interesting because we were just talking about cruiserweights. So yeah.
So going to at this point on the WWF side to give you guys perspective, we're around the time that Mind Games 1996 has happened, and also Razor and Diesel. WWF had a very grand idea to give the gimmicks to two different guys, and we'll talk about Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs getting these gimmicks, and Glenn Jacobs eventually overcame it. Rick Bogner, not so much. They tried to take the Razor and Diesel entity and just put it on somebody else, and the fans chewed it up, spit it, and threw it out. Immediately, it had such a rancid taste, they couldn't even handle it. We're going to talk about who's the scapegoat and all that stuff. When you were watching that or heard they were doing that, were you insulted as a fan? And were you like, what in the, how would this ever work?
As a good friend of mine, Raven, would say, that's fucking goofy. Like it's just stupid. And then it almost counters the whole lawsuit aspect of, oh, we're gonna sue Razor and Nash because they're still using the gimmicks. Like, now why shouldn't Razor and Nash sue you for using their WCW gimmicks on TV? Like, it's stupid, you know? Like, why? I don't know, man. And I gave him I give him credit for having the balls to do it, but at the same time, execution was not excellent. It was rather fall flat, and Razor looked terrible. I mean, Kane looked good as fucking Diesel, at least a little bit, but
right. I
mean, you still see the dentist in his face. Like, there was no like, oh no, shit, that's Diesel. It was like, that guy looks fucking weird. So,
Nash is much more handsome than Glenn Jacobs, so like, there's no replacing Nash's face.
As a human and as a physical being, yeah.
True that. So, looking at who was talked about as the scapegoat over here, and of course they put it down on Jim Ross, and he ended up being the guy they placed the blame on for the Razor Diesel angle, and this according to Meltzer, something that had been clear from the bad reaction to the angle from the second week, after a brief glimpse the night before on the pay-per-view where Rick Bogner and Glenn Jacobs, dressed as Razor Ramon and Diesel, attacked Savio Vega. The television show was built around teasing their appearance later in the show. Continuing, it made the WWF come across that much more foolish since Scott Hall and Kevin Nash were shown early on during Nitro, also live, and well before WWF unveiled its new men. They had taken over Nitro and were making a joke about accepting no imitations. WCW had its own inside joke during the show, introducing Michael Jones, formerly Virgil in the WWF, a name given as a knock on Dusty Rhodes, who was the NWA booker at the time the character was introduced, as the new chief of security for the New World Order, and named him Vince. Finally, Jim Ross came into the ring to deliver the goods, and we eventually saw the unveiling of Razor and Diesel.
Yes.
Has me thinking about other forms of entertainment. We've seen about 4 or 5 entities of Batman. We've seen about how many Spider-Mans in the last couple of years, and people playing different characters. It's not met with such disdain with these different universes. Like, people accept Tom Holland is also going to be Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield can be Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire can be Spider-Man. all these guys are still Spider-Man and we're going to be okay with them. We're not going to revolt. We're not going to not watch the movie. How come wrestling is different? What makes that different? Is it because it's live? Is that why?
I believe it would be because it's so timely. It takes two to 5 years to make a new Spider-Man movie, right? You get news that Tom Holland's replacing Tobey Maguire or whatever. Like you're like, sure, you'll be pissed for the first week or two, much like you would with anything that breaks out in news. And then you're like, okay, like we'll accept it. And you see that they handled it very well. They took the role with honor and care. But I mean, you can't do it while it's going down live. That'd be like if somebody was doing a shot of nostalgia somewhere else right now, and the guy's wearing a NWO hat and they're not wearing blazers and they're mucking up the whole fucking place. But yeah, man, it's crazy. I do remember distinctly the story from The Outsiders though, where they were in WCW offices, and this got them good fucking money because they were like, wait a minute, you're back. You're like, no, man. Like they argued with the Turner executives about paychecks, and Hall and Ash were both like, well, whatever. They're playing it off cool, and they made, I think they got like an extra $100,000 or $200,000 more a contract, and they signed, and then this shit happened. And the Turner executives were like, motherfucker. So, I mean, Jim Ross was probably working with the NWO in the long run like that. That weasel Nick Patrick.
Too sweet, me, Jim Ross.
Goddamn, kid. You're gonna, we're the NWO, brother. Like,
also, as we're kind of brainstorming this live here, it's interesting to think about that comparison with the entities because the fan bases are just as passionate. The Marvel fan base and the Star Wars fan base and the wrestling fan base are very much in a lot of sames. As if you make them a Venn diagram, there's a lot of overlap there. But I also think there's an understanding and an announcement about the talent. I think the problem was on WWF's end, they tried to make it look like you guys are dumb. You're not going to be able to tell the difference between Nash and Hall. Rick Bogner, we're smarter than you. Glenn Jacobs was always Diesel. Yeah. And you guys are just dumb for not recognizing that. And I think that's essentially the core of the issue when you insult your fan base and make them feel lesser than, you don't treat them like intelligent consumers. You're left with people revolting and saying, no, we're not accepting store brand version of the guys we wanted on our show. Get rid of the whole goddamn thing.
No, and that was a telling time for mid 90s WWF. They were still getting over that goofy ass generational hump of the new gen and working out of these gimmicks and then trying to work their way into the Attitude Era. So they just didn't know what the fuck to do, and they tried making sugar out of shit, and it didn't work.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right, and I think it was worth a try because they did own the likeness, and the lawsuit made it clear that they were free to use the Razor gimmick if they'd like, and they did eventually kind of transition to the Carlito Caribbean Cool gimmick eventually down the line all these years later. I wouldn't say Carlito was as successful as a Scott Hall, but that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, but it also goes to show that it's the guy who makes the character, not the character that makes the guy, right? So
100%.
It could be anybody. Bret Hart couldn't be, yo, what's up, Chico? Right. So I'm glad it worked out the way it did.
So we spoke about WCW talent being in Japan for a bit, and there was a New Japan versus WCW tournament, ended up with a total New Japan flavor with Sasaki pinning Shiro Koshinaka in the finals on the 923 Yokohama Arena before a sellout of 17,000 fans. So we had Sasaki using the power strangle hold he had used to win via submission from Lex Luger and Ric Flair earlier in the single elimination tournament. Other guys involved in this tournament, Scott Norton, and he was the only WCW wrestler to make the Final Four. We had Sting wrestling Masahiro Chono in the first round before being pinned by Koshinaka in the quarterfinals. Hugh Morris wrestled Koshinaka. Marcus Bagwell was a late sub for Scott Hall and lost in his first round to Hashimoto. Steve Regal was involved and won his first match against Satoshi Kojima. And we also had Scott Norton go to the finals. Like we mentioned, and Arn Anderson was pinned in the first round by Tenzin. Whole bunch of different guys. It was a 4-night tournament. It drew a sellout. Each of the nights awesome in Osaka and also Tokyo. But we had some injuries. Scott Norton was hurt. He was minorly injured. But Ric Flair was majorly hurt when he suffered a shoulder injury in his match against Sasaki on September 21st. At the time of this being printed, there was no word on how long he'd be out. but we come to know, and we see him on Nitro. He's going to be out for a while. He's not going to be able to defend the U.S. title. Pretty awful. Like, you lend your talent over there, and they go all out. And we talk about this, too. Like, it's the risk. You have Moxley working GCW. You have all these guys going over to Japan working the G1, and, like, Lance Archer was there. Bryan Danielson has aspirations to do that. FTR is going AAA, New Japan, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's the risk those guys get hurt. And that's sort of like the part of the forbidden door we don't talk about. Like, everyone wants to say, in a perfect world, it'd be great to have these dream matches, great to have these people working together.
Yeah.
But goddamn, dude, like, losing Ric Flair to a 4-night tournament in Japan, that sucks.
It's
like,
crazy.
if I'm turned, I'm pissed.
Yeah, no, I would be pissed too. But it's like you got to take the good with the bad. You got to know the roads you're riding, right? Like, I mean, FTR does it seamlessly. It's just, you got to know how to work in that kind of like atmosphere. A lot. Maybe they weren't used to it back then. And then that's like, maybe it's more of more of a norm nowadays. So like people like FTR and Lance Archer, like, they can go out there and work, different shows, different countries, different venues, do all that shit, and not fuck themselves over, work themselves in their shoot, if you will.
Right. We have a couple things about Flair moving on in the rest of the September 30th newsletter. And Ric Flair was involved in a huge upset on the September 19th show in a non-tournament match. He submitted to Kurosawa's torture rack after Kurosawa broke the figure 4. Huge rub for Kurosawa that they wanted to get a super push. He beat Flair, Tenzin, Kojima, Hugh Morris, Choshu, and Chono, and then lost to Sasaki in the finals. He also beat Animal Warrior and Rick Steiner during this rub here. Crazy to think about. First of all, Flair submitting, someone breaking the figure 4. Why would WCW be okay with that? Do you think Flair would have had the autonomy to say, I'm okay with this happening, or do you think Bischoff or Turner had to sign off on that?
I don't think Flair gave a shit. I think Flair was there for the money. Dollars mean more than wins and losses and records and all that shit. So I think Flair's notorious for being the guy that puts people over, no matter what it is. Right. And I think that was part of what it was. No, like, I never see. Did you ever see these matches? I didn't see
Not
these
true,
matches.
you're right.
So like, who gives a fuck? Like, we're
right.
The New Japan crowd, maybe. Like, I don't know. It's a double-sided sword. Like, how much work is Flair getting in Japan right now? Like, it's one of those things.
No, I mean, it's a really good point, because at this time, 1996, like, there was the internet, but there wasn't streaming options. Like, you either watched it on Japanese television or were there live, or you didn't see it at all. Like, you read about it a month later in the newsletter, and then if you're that type of fan, it's not like you're losing respect for Flair because he lost in this match. You already have an understanding how the business works. So it's kind of a win-win for Ric Flair. He was able to build relationships over there, but to me, like, if I'm WCW, I wouldn't allow that to happen.
Yeah. I think it's a good point of, like, putting your bullshit aside and just letting somebody else, like, you can't do that nowadays. Ric Flair can't be working the G1 Climax and fucking, doing his shit and making it, Flair gets pinned by fucking Suzuki, and Suzuki's just, like, fucking headbutting him and shit. Like, it makes your Flair look weak in America, and now you'd see it more. You have more availability to watch it. Even an indie show, you could watch fucking Joe Schmo get, tap out Bret Hart, and Bret Hart's going to lose that credibility because it's on fucking Fight TV. Right. But that wasn't the thing back then at all.
No, it's a really good point, because I think with the emergence of the internet and the availability of all these platforms, it made the world of wrestling much smaller, so you couldn't just do things in the little shadows and corners of these little markets and pretend it didn't happen elsewhere. We talk all the time about the first Hogan and Andre meeting wasn't at WrestleMania 3. They wrestled at Shea Stadium, and many times before that we saw the match, and they WWF with, the shilling and the fact that the ultimate showmanship, it's first time ever. Like, and people still to this day, you ask a random person on the street, when was the first time Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant met in a wrestling ring? And they would say, Detroit, Michigan, WrestleMania 3, in front of all these fans. Yeah. So they can distort the truth, and WCW could do the same, New Japan could do the same, but the truth eventually now, it's hard to make fans feel like the truth is not the truth. Like, you can't pull the wool over anybody's eyes, because who John Moxley wrestles at GCW. Whether you watch it or not, you can look it up on, whether it be The Observer or wherever if you're Mike Johnson, you like listening to Mike Johnson, like Tom Montalto, you like Mike Johnson, he's reporting that as well.
love Mike Johnson. He's so thorough in this great in this report. But I mean, the same goes for like Hogan's body slamming Andre. You know, so many people fucking body slammed Andre beforehand. Harley Race has done it. Like it's Don Morocco probably fucking did it. It doesn't matter, man. IRS Man could have fucking did it, and like we will never know. It doesn't matter. You know, it's whoever Andre wanted to give the rub to. Right. So it's just fucking. It's much like most of history outside of wrestling, it's fabricated. You know, right. we don't fucking know what happened.
So what's not fabricated is Ric Flair's contract in WCW. He would be under contract until November 1998, not 1996. However, he has talked of taking time off because he wants to spend more time at home. He got injured, so he gets his time off, but probably not the time he wanted. We also have Randy Savage in a contract dispute as well. Meltzer at this point is conjecturing. He's not sure exactly what's true and what's not. He said either his contract has expired, but because of the commitment to Slim Jims, which sponsored the Vegas show and basically booked the main event themselves, he's staying until the end of October, or his contract expires in November. Either way, there's a legitimate concern he'll leave for WWF because he's been unhappy with the way things are going. Meltzer makes it clear, don't think for a second WWF won't take him back. He stays. He never comes back. We don't see the reunion that we really want until the Hall of Fame, which sucks because I really wish he would have been a part of this, you know, a couple of the eras. The early 2000s would have been really cool to see him involved with some of the talent there. But alas, man, we don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where he would have fit in along. I mean, obviously he would have fit in no matter what because he's Randy Savage. But it's a shame that his last match was on one of those Wednesday night TNA fucking weekly pay-per-views that they were doing. Right. And he was embarrassed by it. And nothing made me happier than seeing that fucking the Mattel reveal where he's just they're like, ooh yeah, and like you got that the goosebumps again. Like obviously we've been missing Macho Man for all these years, and that was like the last year of his life that he got the talk. I mean, we've sat with Bill McKenna and talked about this on Fig Night, how awesome it must have been to be the guy that go to his house, shoot that promo. I mean, you're the first person to fucking bring the madness out of the fucking shell again, and it's such a shame it was cut short, man. Such a fucking shame. But what a crazy. At least it happened. I'm very, very happy that that bridge was rebuilt, and you know everything was mended before. You know, obviously things took a turn for the worse.
Yeah, and I mean, we think about it too. You only have about a limited amount of time, especially with these different personalities, that you want to mend these fences. If you talk about the differences of egos, and Triple H has a different mindset than Vince McMahon. Like he was the bridge with the Warrior. He was the bridge with Bruno Sammartino. He probably played a huge part about the Macho Man stuff as well. You have to understand, like, there's going to be people you don't like, but for the betterment of the universe, of this canon that we have in this wrestling world, you got to bring it together. You can't just hold grudges and keep people out because eventually you're going to honor them, right? And you don't want it to be after they're gone because they're not able to be a part of it. And I think about the years missing of Macho Man's legacy that could have been a part, not in the ring. It doesn't have to be in the ring with WWF. It could have been much later as an advocate, someone who could just be there and gives stability to a product that probably needed it in the early 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
So the last thing of the September 30th newsletter before we move into the October 7th one, and we'll pick and choose, we'll cherry pick a little bit because, you know, we're moving into 40 minutes into the happy hour, but this has been a great conversation.
Yeah.
So Hulk Hogan, you know, obviously he's in this angle with Macho Man. He wanted to really get it over. Word had it he wanted to pile drive Elizabeth at the Fall Brawl pay-per-view, but Eric Bischoff overruled it, figuring the word may get to Ted Turner and they'd wind up in trouble. We see this going on in ECW. Who knows if Hogan saw it and was like very much in tune with the Beulah stuff. Like, brother, I saw this thing on TNN and this guy took this girl. She was wearing this shirt that was barely a shirt, brother. And he pile drove her right into the mat. I got to do that to Liz, brother.
Beulah McGillicuddy, brother. Everybody. Tommy Dreamer is the innovator of pro wrestling, man.
So my point is, ECW was definitely pushing the limit for a bit, and they could do it because we talk about little pockets of obscurity. ECW was in its own little world. Their fans liked it. Not enough people were involved to say no, poo-poo it, and say their sponsors wouldn't be a fan of this. Same thing with WWE now with the no blood and all that. I wonder what this would have done for the angle to get it over a little bit better. And I know Liz could have taken it. I'm sorry. Like, she could have taken it. And we've seen her get physical every once in a while. Like, a pile driver, I've never taken one. But, Hogan's a professional, figure out a way to do it safely. But it would have had such an effect on this feud that would have made Hogan take the next step. He was already a dastardly heel, but put his hands on the lovely Elizabeth, even though she was far removed from 1992 Elizabeth, still would be like, that's unheard of in wrestling. You don't put your hands on Liz.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It would have been a talking point, that water cooler talk that we always hear about. So it's crazy.
All right, some other key points of the October 7th newsletter. We have the relationship with AAA and WCW. We see a lot of the Mexican stars come over for the Cruiserweight division. Also, Conan's working with some of the stars on the Nitros and on Saturday night. In AAA, there are beginning to be obvious problems with so many of the top names spending so much time in the U.S. with World Championship Wrestling as far as being unable to use their top stars in the promotion, so the house show lineups in Mexico are beginning to suffer greatly. With the Mexican economy in the toilet, even though the AAA wrestlers, for the most part, with the exception of Conan, who has a contract, are the lowest paid wrestlers in WCW, it is still more than they make in Mexico. This, again, very, very similar to what's going on today, and not the pay part, but that AAA's card is so, slimmed down to the point where if they don't have Impact stars, if they don't have AEW guys on the roster, New Japan guys, they're almost not worth watching, which is a shame. I love Lucha Wrestling, but AAA leaves a lot to be desired, which they were a conversation point with their world champion. Io de Vicino is the world champion. He was number 5 in the PWI rankings.
Yeah.
But they don't hold the same standing that they did. And it's probably because of things like this, that they are being their whole talent. Like, all right, go ahead, go in WCW and do your thing while we have the scrubs of the scrubs main eventing our main shows.
Yeah. No, it's a hard bridge to walk because like even like more so now, AAA is more American heavy than it is Mexican heavy. Like you get a few homegrown talents there, but everything else is, it's Sammy Guevara, it's, the Lucha Brothers. Not that the Lucha Brothers didn't come from Mexico, but they're mainly American stars now. Right. And you can keep going up and down the bridge. I mean, they bring in GCW guys, they bring in, they just go across the board to make it more of a spectacle show as opposed to a homegrown Mexico AAA show.
100%. And working with promotions gets tricky because there's egos involved. Their top guys want to be treated like top guys, but someone has to go over. Not everyone's going to be willing to be Ric Flair and whatever. Like I'll let you break out of my submission that's supposed to be protected. I'll tap out to your finish. Most guys won't do that, and most guys are not as flexible or as versatile to overcome that. Like a lot of guys, the wins are everything, especially in this era of wrestling, where if you're losing on a weekly basis to any talent, not even just outside talent, you could be cut at the knees as far as the way fans are perceiving you.
Yeah.
All right, so we know Sting's leaving. We know that they're doing this repackage for him with Crow, and he'll be back next week. But man, did you know why he left? Because I didn't know this until I popped in. I just thought they were giving him a break and they wanted to kind of freshen up.
No, I had no idea.
All right, well, Sting's storyline is actually to explain his absence as he's doing a movie that's coming out later in 1996 called Liar Liar, starring Jim Carrey. So, and then Meltzer makes a case. I can think of a lot of wrestling personalities who should be stars in a movie with that name. He was a little salty in this newsletter. He dropped a whole bunch of weird stuff in here that was like, dude, are we in a bad mood? Like, you didn't drink your coffee yet? What's going on?
Yeah, I do not recall Sting, Steve Bowden, being in Liar Liar, though.
And the reason why is because the scene he spent all the time on the set for was deleted. And I'll tell you why. Because if you remember, do you remember the presence of, what was the plot of Liar Liar? You essentially remember it?
Yeah.
That Jim Carrey was a horrible dad, and he was never there for his son, and work came first, and he was a lawyer, and blah, blah, blah. The son wished on his birthday that he could not lie, and that was the whole premise of the movie. Spoiler alert, guys. I mean, it's been how many fucking years? So, in the movie, they mention a few times that he wants to go to wrestling with his dad. In the movie, Jim Carrey does bring him to wrestling, and it's Sting wrestling somebody else, and it Sting's in his tights and everything. It's not like Sting makes a cameo in any other way except for the wrestling part.
Yeah.
They film it, but when they were on the cutting room floor, they said it makes Jim Carrey look less like a bad dad, because he did follow through one time. They wanted to make sure he didn't father. I think, to me, you could have left him in, had somebody else bring the kid, or the dad not show up to wrestling, like he had a ticket and it's just the kid by himself, or I don't know. I'm trying to work it in to get Sting there, but it's crazy. Like, I'm like, Sting was in Liar Lie. I've seen that movie a million times, and like, yeah, he wasn't in it, but he was filming it.
That's insane. And I kind of remember the wrestling thing. It's like Jim Carrey would be like, it's like, that was what it was all about. So that's fucking wild.
I mean, we think about all the different wrestling movies and WCW was a large part of it. I think of Ready to Rumble. I mean, Macho in that, and Sting was in that, Goldberg, and
I mean,
DDP
everybody was
the
in
heel.
That. Yeah,
fuck, man, that was a great movie. One of my favorite wrestling movies ever. And funny enough, as a kid, I wasn't familiar with the WCW product, but that movie was like everything to me. I loved it.
Yeah, I think that was my first PG-13 movie by myself with my friends. You know, like mom and dad drop you off at the movie theater, like, we're going to see Ready to Rumble, man.
So good. I may just watch it tonight. I'm gonna be honest with you. A little Friday night.
I might join you on that, man.
Little classy little wine glass, like, because Hawk got me all hot and bothered. I want some wine after watching the wrap up last night.
It's not even a pay-per-view.
Oh man. Jimmy King is the best wrestler. He's the bestler. Better than the wrestler. He's got class. He'll rule that ass.
King me.
Jimmy. Da-da-da. Jimmy. All right, if you guys haven't seen Ready to Rumble, you guys can check it out. It's a great movie. David Arquette won the world title off of that.
Yeah, and twice over. Is Oliver Plant still around? We should try to get him on here. That would be
oh
good.
My God. Have him in the gimmick as Jimmy the King.
His Oscar-winning performance.
Crown him, King. Jimmy King. Crown him.
Crown me. I will rule you.
Let's just quote Ready to Rumble the rest of the show.
We could. It is very easily.
All right, so the last part of the newsletter before we move into Nitro, we have J.J. Dillon starting to work in the office at WCW, and he started Tuesday, October 6, 1996, and Bischoff had a pep talk before the 923 Nitro with the wrestlers saying he wanted to beat McMahon by 1.5 in the ratings again. He told the wrestlers that Dillon would be coming in and apologize to Kevin Sullivan, saying Dillon would be his assistant because he's heard JJ is a good organizer, and said he was apologizing because it was the first chance he had gotten to tell Sullivan about this. Ironically, this JJ Dillon deal was probably a done deal a long time ago because one major WCW figure was bragging back in late April about how JJ was coming in, and Dillon had his house in Connecticut for sale for several months, then quit with no notice when the house closed. We saw J.J. Dillon on TV. First of all, looks phenomenal, by the way. Looks better than any of them. But this, again, rings a lot of truth with AEW, with the lack of communication in the locker room. It seems like people are learning stuff on the fly, and that's where you get hurt feelings.
Yeah. There's no crying in baseball.
And we're having these closed-door meetings where people are talking exclusively about the ratings. And I know Tony Khan speaks about the ratings, but on the WWE side, there's a lack of, like, you know what, the ratings are the ratings, and I know they're measured much differently nowadays. It's not the same as the Nielsen ratings, and you got to take into clicks and trending topics on Twitter and YouTube views, and the way people look at consumption is much different because there's so many options. It's just interesting to me that they're having these meetings and mentioning people by name, and they're just trying to beat WWF Raw by a certain margin. It just seems weird, and it makes you look like you're minor. And I know this wasn't out there for everybody to see, but it also seems like, I don't know, obsessive with the other product. Like, focus on what you guys are doing.
It's fucking bullshit.
So there's other stuff in the newsletter here about Japan and stuff, but I'm going to leave that. We'll probably talk about it next week. We had a good conversation about the Forbidden Door and I guess the downfalls and the pitfalls of having your talent go elsewhere, and it sucks to get them, have them get hurt. It would be a shame. Like, I know we got Moxley and Gage wrestling in GCW for the GCW title. Now, we'll talk about that in GCW, but I have a question for you that just popped in my brain.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Moxley is the undisputed world champion now. It feels like they got to take the goddamn title from GCW and put it on Nick Gage, unless he's retiring.
Yeah.
Do you have Nick Gage beat your world champion? Do you do a schmoz? How are you booking that, Mike Belcaster? That's fucking hard, because they didn't have intention of Moxley being champion. It was supposed to be Punk.
I don't want any weapons. I want Nick Gage to beat him fucking clean. Like,
R-bar.
put him R-bar. But no, I mean, the double-edged sword here is what if Mox gets fucked up during this match? Are we
Right.
going to get another fucking tournament, another interim championship? You know how amateurish this is going to look? And it could happen because I'm not that Nick Gage isn't fucking very protective of how he treats his people he's working with, but I mean, light tubes are light tubes. We've seen fucking some shit go down.
Yeah.
Mox has been dying to go fishing. I could see him taking a blade job there and go, oh, fuck, I hurt my eye. I got to go home. You know, like
That's why it was interesting to me that you didn't put the title on. I know Danielson has his histories with the stuff, but, like, he's been around. Like, I know he had that time where he took the preventative time off with the head stuff.
Yeah.
I just, like, take a guy that's just there. Danielson's not working any other dates. He's not AAA. He's not New Japan. Moxley's got his hand in a couple different pots where, I don't know, it seems a little... Again, you want to reward the guy. He's been the guy. But it felt, man, I've been watching wrestling for 25 years. I fully expected Danielson to go over last night. I'm a Danielson mark. I was a little bit disappointed. I love Mox, but goddamn, like, when is Danielson going to get his time?
I feel like Danielson was a now or never.
True.
I really did. And I like, are we going to wait until he gets fucked up again? Or are we going to wait until, like, what's happening? Mox obviously was deserving some time off. And, you know, his wife had to find out that they were going on vacation when he showed up on fucking Dynamite that night. Like, it was like, oh, fuck. Like, we're not going, like, you know, that sucks. And but like, why put the pressure on the guy? Obviously, he could come up and say, I could do this. But, like, you have a fucking roster. That's why it's a roster. It's not like we have 4 guys that we're cycling the title through because we're fucking AEW. Like, it's, man, would it have hurt a short title run on Danielson?
No. Because I don't think he's ever going to win the title. I'll make a bold statement here, and I know this is not the AEW show, but I don't think he's winning the title ever. Because now or never.
We didn't. This is the missing gap from the wrap up this week. Is right here, right fucking now. I don't think
here it is.
The title either.
I could change the whole. Real quick. Hold on. No, I don't want to do it. It'll fuck up everything.
Yeah, right. but I agree with you, man. I think it was a now or never kind of deal. Much like a lot. AEW has. There we go. We're fucking live, pal. But I feel like AEW misses a lot of those opportunities, and we talk about this highway road mentality for pro wrestling. Call the fucking audible, you know, let the Acclaim win in Chicago. It didn't have to wait until this. I felt the crowd was way less into the match, even 100%. Though they were really into the match, but like that Chicago crowd was fucking hot for the Acclaim, man. All you had to do was get Paul Turner, tell them we're changing the finish. And it's like, oh, okay, like Acclaim's going over. What's going to happen? You're going to piss off Keith Lee? Guy's not going to be on TV for 6 months after this anyway.
Well, the one silver line before we move back into our WCW 1996 and get our fix is in a quiet moment, I think Danielson and Moxley are probably arguing about who loses. I think that's probably it. Like Danielson probably like, I don't want to win. I want Moxley to go over. He deserves it. And Moxley probably had no choice. Like
I'm fucking tired. I'm old. I'm tired, and I'm fucking Jon Moxley.
All right, let's move back to the shot nostalgia one. Thank you guys for indulging us for a second. I did miss being on the wrap up last night. That was the first time that we've ever had the inception of the different overlays, so that was pretty exciting.
I dig it. We are here. We are needle movers, man. We make shit happen.
All right, so it's time to get our fix, and let's talk about September 30th, 1996, WCW Nitro. All right, it's time to get our fix. WCW Monday Nitro, September 30th, 1996, live from Cleveland, Ohio, the CSU Convocation Center.
Ooh.
Cleveland, Ohio, home of Johnny Gargano. But he won't make his return there. He's got to wait till he's not in his hometown.
or they'll wait extra long and wait until they come back to his hometown.
Exactly. Yeah, wait again.
Depends on what company he's working for. Right?
Exactly. Our current champs in WCW are as followed. Our world champion is Hulk Hogan. Hollywood had won the title back on August 10th at Hog Wild. Our U.S. champion for now is RIC FLAIR. As we know, he got injured in the Japan tour, so we'll see what they do with the U.S. title. He won it back on July 7th, 1996. Our World Tag Team Champions, god damn it, I talked about it last week, is goddamn Public Enemy. They won it on September 23rd, 1996. I was disappointed. I couldn't believe they put the titles on them. Dude, for any amount of money, if you would have asked me, did Public Enemy ever win the titles in their run here? I would have said absolutely not. I saw it with my own eyes, man. It was garbage.
They beat HARLEM HEAT? I mean, come on.
Awful.
Awful.
It's not a long rain though. Spoiler.
It doesn't matter, but like, I mean, any thunderstorm's a bad thunderstorm, right?
True. And this was a really shitty thunderstorm.
Yeah.
a sulfur smell coming from the ground. Like
a lot of garbage fucking spot monkey wrestling going on.
Our world TV champion is Lord Steven Regal. He won it back on August 20th. And our cruiserweight champion is the great luchador Rey Mysterio. Won it back on July 8th, 1996. So they mention our newsletter thing here, and I had to put it in the notes. During the week, the Wrestling Observer reported that a woman called the WCW office complaining because her 5-year-old had spray-painted NWO on her 1-year-old. It's no surprise that some parents, they don't let their kids watch wrestling. But they did mention the beginning of the show that said, it was kind of like one of those disclaimers they have on the radio where they read it really quick, and they said, like, we don't tell you guys to do anything that we're doing on the show. Just please, practice caution. So
Quietly. Yeah.
Quietly. Just make sure you guys understand that.
We're live. Yeah.
So our number one, our host, Tony Schiavone, Larry Zbyszko, and we have Eric Bischoff opening the show as well with an apology. And he wants to say, I apologize for what happened with the New World Order hijacking Nitro when all the good guys were gone to Japan. He says this NWO thing has got to stop. Yeah, right. He'll say that because we'll find out where that goddamn snake. He again confesses his one and only mistake while he's been with WCW was bringing in Hulk Hogan. So a nice cool thing, and we talk about, you weren't on Sessions, but Tom and J-Bone talked about the first Stunner and the emergence of this Vince McMahon character. This is sort of the emergence of Eric Bischoff as not just the announcer, he's becoming the head face of WCW as he is representing the good and trying to make sure that stability is held. What were your thoughts about Eric Bischoff being on screen? I thought he was a great character from the start.
Yeah, and he never got old. There was never a point in my wrestling fandom where I was like, fuck this guy. Like, he's got no right. Like, I never corneted on Bischoff. Like, it was never like, this fucking dumb motherfucker, Mr. TV. Like, it was just like naturally, he fit the part so well. But almost, I won't say better than Vince did, but very right up there. Like, he was that guy, and he was the guy that was good at combating WWF Vince McMahon, especially later on once he starts calling him out and shit. And it's not like Tony Khan going, oh, fucking bullshit. It was like, this guy had pageantry. He's coming down on motorcycles. Like, come on, Vince. Like, let's fucking go, dude. Like, it was very... It was ballsy, man. I could give Bischoff fucking mad credit.
I'm a huge Bischoff fan, and I know people don't agree with everything he says, and you don't have to agree with people. You don't have to agree with everything I say. I do appreciate you guys listening, but you may disagree, and that incites conversation.
Yeah.
When I listen to Eric Bischoff talk about the product, I may disagree with certain things, but I also am met with he's coming from a place where he's been at the highest level. And it was a short period of time, it was 83 weeks where he beat WWF, and he'll say that till his face is blue. But he has a right to speak from the mountaintop and tell people how he would book it. He's not saying how you should book it. He's saying how he would book it and how he would do things. And you're the one listening to him. So people that get mad about Bischoff getting his opinion out there, that's his job, dude. Like, he has an opinion just like everybody has an opinion. He just has a little more weight behind it because he was involved in the hottest goddamn angle in wrestling history.
Yeah, you don't call your local news channels like Tom Brokaw's a fucking asshole for the way he reported that fucking death. Like, down,
is that Chicago? Is that a local Chicago news guy?
It might be. Tom Brokaw's like I think he's like a what was the 2020, right?
Oh, maybe I don't even know.
Tom Brokaw, yeah, but whatever. It sounds like a Chicago news guy. It might as well be, but like. Yeah, like you don't call your local Joe Schmo news guy and be like, fucking your reporting is bullshit and it's shitty. Like, nobody gives a fuck. They just take it as it is. They're like, okay, like that's what they said on the news. Like, we're gonna go with it.
All right, so I put the results here. We're gonna get into the first match. The first match is for the WCW World Tag Team Champions. Our new champions, Public Enemy, are taking on Technico and Juvi Guerrera. El Technico is a guy that we recognize. You recognize his little body. It's Billy Kidman under a mask playing a Mexican luchador. They were the AAA guys that were unavailable, so they needed someone to team with Juvi. They put Billy Kidman under a mask. It's a one-shot deal. This is the only time, little tidbit, if you guys are Billy Kidman marks and you want to get an autograph from Billy Kidman, get a picture of El Technico and have him sign it. I'm sure you'd be the only person to have El Technico's autograph.
He would pop. I think that would pop him very good. That was a good bop.
So, ironically, he dressed like El Caliente, which is Eddie Guerrero's alter ego he used in 1997. People talk about, don't know why it couldn't have been just Billy Kidman teaming with Hoovy. It probably would have made sense. It's not like he was with Hoovy was involved with another guy under a mask. Like he had to be with a guy under a mask. I'd be interested to ask Eric Bischoff or whoever. I'm sure he doesn't remember this, but maybe ask Billy Kidman. He probably remembers like why they asked him to be under a mask that one random night in 1996.
And listen, it's not like the Little Mermaid where everybody's losing their shit over it. It was just Billy Kidman playing a luchador.
Billy. That's a nice little. That's a Midwest emo band. Billy Kidman playing luchador. I can see that all lowercase as the song.
I love it. Hell yeah.
Sorority Noise their next song is called Billy Kidman playing a luchador.
You guys got this.
All right, this match goes 2 minutes and 6 seconds. El Technico gets hit with the drive-by to give Public Enemy the win. So we will get Harlem Heat regaining the tag titles in only 6 days, and I can't wait for it. Afterwards, Public Enemy were not done with the damage. Rocco somersault planches El Technico through a table, and they leave through the crowd. Weird optic with Public Enemy as the champions. I'm not here for it. I thought it sucked.
Yeah, I mean, of course it sucks. Public Enemy's involved, and also what a really bad name for a finish. The drive-by. Could you imagine if they gave Harlem Heat a finish and called it the drive-by? People would lose their fucking shit.
Well, I know Roman Reigns does the drive-by. He does that kick. I think they do call it the drive-by. I can hear Michael Cole's stupid voice saying, hit him with the drive-by.
Hit him with the drive-by. Michael Cole sounds like Sneed for some reason. He hit him with the drive-by. Motherfucker.
Insert a little Keith Lee hate, and then you got it. It's perfect.
Yeah. Fucking hate Keith Lee, man. Fucking motherfucker.
My favorite Sneed is when he gets angry at Hawk in the chat. Like, he just... it's the best, because, like, Sneed gives it to Hawk like nobody else. Chad gets after him, but Sneed, for some reason... just like has the
dumb
extra
bitch.
Coming out. Yeah.
Go drink wine somewhere, you motherfucker. I love Sneed. Sneed might be one of my favorite personalities of the tavern lore. I love him.
So good. Sneed, we love you, man. So amazing. Sneed pops me hard every episode of the flagship. They both do. Their chemistry is amazing. And you guys go back and listen to all the flagships. It's been great. I've been doing like that anthology watch where you guys are aware whenever I have some free time. I get my fill and I listen to the old tavern episodes. It's great. But their chemistry from the jump was electric. I know they're friends for life, but man, Sneed and Chad, they popped me, and this week was no different. So go back and check out Thursday morning's episode from yesterday morning about Dynamite Grand Slam. It was fucking amazing.
I got to get my fill in because that's the good shit.
So good. They are the Tavern Daddies. You guys saw me at Grand Slam rocking the Tavern Daddy shirt. I represent for life. These guys are they're the brains behind the operation. They started this whole wonderful thing, this network of podcasting that we are so grateful to call the Turnbuckle Tavern. So I'm grateful to the two bad Chads that they are still doing their damn thing, and they're the standard. Like, we're all trying to keep up with what they're doing. So
hell yeah,
and they're setting the tone.
They built the hill that we shill.
That is right.
That's the way to do it, man.
All right, so back to some shilling. Mike Tenay continues to handle interviews as he's standing by with Benoit, Mongo, Deborah, and then Mongo and Deborah here not only to represent the Four Horsemen, but they say they want to support Benoit tonight in his match against Rick Steiner. And that's our main event tonight, Benoit and Rick Steiner, which we'll talk about, which is pretty cool. I was here for it. I liked it.
Yeah.
I'm rocking my Steiner pin over here, you guys can see, for the main event, with the fact that they're main eventing. Very timely.
Yeah. Dig it.
So we head over to the New World Order suite at the Cleveland Marriott. 6-year-old Nasty Nick at night. Hogan is sitting on Daddy's lap. This is what's going on in 1996, guys. Hollywood says Nick's mom is going to let him watch every NWO Monday Nitro from here on out. DiBiase says WCW is having to pay for this commercial time now because they lost War Games. Nash makes a random Ross Perot joke. Ross Perot. Then again,
Ross Perot.
Perot, I don't know who that is. Who's that? No,
he was an old presidential runner, but he had really
very
big
timely,
ears, very very southern. He was a piece of shit. It was good. Ross Perot was a butt of jokes for like a good portion of the '90s, so very timely.
So, I guess a guy who doesn't win the election winds up going somewhere where you just don't remember their names.
Hold on. I have to bring up a picture of Ross Perot real fast, just so you are aware of what goofy motherfucker that he was.
So this was the hangout. As you're pulling up, there's a hangout. This is essentially those hangouts where they're in the locker room and they're just like doing things in the locker room and they're just hanging out, where they're just showing a very informal level of the NWO being cool guys, and I think that's what they wanted to show. As we have.
I mean, come on. That's your typical like Southern politician.
He looks like what's his name? The Clayton from ESPN, like the guy who reported the NFL.
I don't even fuck with ESPN too often, but I got the reference. It was good.
Yeah. So we move into the next match here. I'll let you take the lead. It's ALEX WRIGHT taking on MALENKO, and this was a pretty good match. It went, only 5 minutes, but I thought it was good.
Yeah, man. I mean, this is like your stretch out, especially after that first fucking terrible match. Dean Malenko seems like the guy, like, what do they call the fourth batter in baseball?
Oh, he's the cleanup guy. He is
the fucking cleanup guy. See, I kind of got
there. You go, baseball.
Baseball, go baseball, yeah. But like, he is the cleanup guy. Like, he comes in after really bad matches and just fucking runs shit. 5 minutes, 17 seconds. A rolling cradle, which a very fun Mike Belcaster fact. I was a high school wrestler when I was in like 7th grade because of the weight. I could only fight high schoolers, so I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's bring it on!" And I got into the first match. I'm sitting there ready to fucking grapple this dude, and fucking like elbowed me basically and rolled me up into a cradle like this, and I was out. And as he was holding me, I was singing "Cradle, Cradle, Cradle, I made you out of clay." Man, that's my wrestling history right there. But yeah, I mean, Malenko knows his shit. He rolls him up with a quick rolling cradle. 1, 2, 3. And as you put it, match of the night, which is, I mean, it's pretty fucked up. But good shit, man. I love me some. Listen, ALEX WRIGHT might got a lot of bunt of the hate, man, but he was a great fucking performer. He was a good dance partner always.
Yeah, this is one of those matches where, yes, it was an upset. Yes, it was weird that ALEX WRIGHT got the win. But even in a losing effort, Dean Malenko looks ready to win the Cruiserweight title at any given moment. In the division, everyone's on a level playing field. Malenko's building up towards his match at Ray, which is going to be an absolute banger at Halloween Havoc. He has Ray's mask. He stole it on Saturday night. He puts on the ring post, which is a cool aesthetic he's been doing for this week and then a couple weeks going forward. Like I said, really good match. Match of the night. The announcers make it clear that he's too focused on Rey Mysterio, nobody else, and that's why he lost. Cool right win here. I thought it was actually decent that he got the win here, so I was okay with the Malenko losing. But our 1997 PWI Wrestler of the Year, Dean Malenko, always is the highlight. I love Dean Malenko. I need the Dean Malenko merch. I may start a Dean Malenko figure collection because I think.
He doesn't have many. I think he's got like 3, which is very sad.
He has the magnet one, right? He became a Chris Jericho where his hands are like this, right?
Flip and grip. I think he's got a original San Francisco toy maker one too, like the bulkier ones. Definitely got a Mattel Classic Superstars. So he's only like 4 or 5. He's doing good. It's the Iceman.
I'm also the Iceman cometh, baby. There's a whole bunch of there's a whole bunch of noises and songs in the background music, and there's this thing that says bell. I'm not sure if Anthony and Nick put like bell noises. I want to hit it and see what happens.
Let's fuck with it.
Is it just an old?
Ladies and gentlemen, the following contest is scheduled for one fall.
I didn't realize we should definitely have like a different bell or like Michael Buffer. Yeah. We should add Michael Buffer in here. Ding, ding, ding. This is more like the Hunchback of Notre Dame bell.
Yeah. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, the following
is scheduled for one fall.
I love it. Dude, right. I would love to see, and I'm not even a Raw guy, but I would love to see Dominic Mysterio do this Dean Malenko gimmick where he keeps putting his dad's mask on the corner while he's wrestling.
Someone had a really cool idea that this whole Dominic thing was going to eventually lead to Rey Mysterio giving his mask to Dominic. It would be interesting to have like the ultimate disrespect that he finally earns his luchador mask, but he gets it from like Finn Balor, or he gets it from Rhea Ripley gives him a mask, and that's the ultimate dastardly. Or wear a...
That's a different mask. That's got a zipper on the mouth.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Some tassels hanging off the back. But it's the same thing.
Dom is appropriately named, I guess, but not for... Because it's reverse, I guess.
Should be simp. Yeah.
But, I mean... I don't know. I think this is cool. It's like something badass about like you're carrying this guy's legacy to the ring, and it's so disrespectful. Like it's a trophy. Yeah,
it's good. I like it.
So 2 days ago on Saturday night in a match with Randy Savage taking on Big Bubba, Elizabeth watched on from the tunnel while Savage beat up referees. They showed the highlight of it. This has become a theme throughout the Nitros. Randy Savage, he got DQ'd 2 weeks in a row on Nitro. He got 2 losses, and it seems to be that what they're doing. And oddly enough, spoiler alert, there's no DQ finishes on any of these shows, which is refreshing. So I'm hydrating here, guys. I'm drinking some water.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Randy Savage, he's been sort of set up to be this unstable character, but it always seems like a background of what's going on in the show. It doesn't seem like they're ever really focused on it.
Yeah. It's definitely like he's in the bicycle lane right now. Like he's not on the highway.
So they're supposed to interview him. He doesn't show up. The announcers are hyping it up, saying we don't know where he is. Again, unpredictable, unstable,
madness.
Madness. Yeah,
madness, brother. Yeah.
Our next match here, Eddie Guerrero takes on Jim Powers. It is a longer match, but not a better match than the match before. But it wasn't a bad match because Eddie Guerrero can have a bad match. 6 minutes and 23 seconds. He gets the win. He finishes it with a German suplex for the 3. German was really put over here. The Germans were ending matches. We see that as a transition move through the mid-2000s. So anytime I see a match end with a German suplex, which is a devastating move, I'm a little bit surprised. But this was a decent match. There was some other stuff going on in this match. There was a little bit of weirdness in the ending. Jim Powers getting his shoulder up, which leads to Teddy Long arguing with an injured ref. The biggest reaction was the interaction with the referees at the end, so the crowd wasn't really into Jim Powers. I don't think it was Eddie's fault. Jim Powers got absolutely bodied by the New World Order last week. I'm surprised he even showed up to work.
You know, he needs his in between checks while he's working the stockroom at Target. He's pissed.
Exactly.
He's like, God damn it, man.
Sadly enough, this is the first time we've seen Eddie Guerrero since Clash of Champions. We did it all the weeks ago. And it seems like they show Matt Gariffi in attendance, who's an Olympic silver medal winner. And it seems like it's a direct reaction to the signing of Mark Henry. So it just seems like, you know what? You have an Olympic guy. We have an Olympic guy.
I bet he would have had a better action figure than Mark Henry.
Yeah, exactly. The face. Yo, Mark, your face scan for the Jack Pacific one will leave a lot to be desired.
Just crumbles everything in front of him.
I still was hoping he World's Strongest Slam me through that wood set of the Sheeta figure, because I think that would have been the best story.
It would have been great, man, and everybody would have been like, "Yeah, like viral this shit." Like, you know how fucking great that would have been.
Oh man, I would have taken it. Mark Henry. Yeah, fuck yeah, I would have taken it. Are you kidding me?
I would have absolutely taken it. Go ahead, do it, man. I trust you.
What? Yeah, I limp home on my flight back to Long Island, but you know what? It'd be so damn worth it. It'd be like, you know, where'd you get that cut on your forehead? Oh, Mark Henry just put me through a piece of plastic plexiglass.
Oh, I love it. I would have popped.
Former ECW European champion, Sexual Chocolate, the silver. What was it? Silverback. The World's Strongest Man, the guy in the pink salmon blazer, put you through the thing? Hell yeah, he did.
Hell yeah, he did.
All right, so we have the next over here. We have a hotel segment with the Nasty Boys joining the New World Order, and they're doing much more for them than WCW ever did. I did hear the first mention of the word Wolfpack, as Nasty Nick at night is wearing the Wolfman Halloween mask. So this little weird thing there. Like, seeing Wolfpack was in their verbiage. I don't know, Wolfpack is just a thing. Like they identify as a Wolfpack, but maybe the birth child of the Wolfpack eventually got there.
It was Nasty Nick at night, man. He was the he was the third man in the Wolfpack.
This is the second time we are mentioning Jim Carrey, but Eric Bischoff was doing Jerry Sags did an Eric Bischoff impression inspired by Ace Ventura: Pet Detective. So Jim Carrey, very timely, very appropriate in the 90s. Dude kind of ruled the 90s as far as movies go.
Yeah. Alrighty then.
Big Jim Carrey guy. Eternal Sunshine, great movie, but I also like his comedy stuff as well.
Yes.
The Grinch, you know.
Yeah.
Give me a Grinch impression.
Oh, welcome to WCW Monday Night Nitro. It's good. I forgot the dog's name. Was it Jack or something?
Max.
Max, yes, Max. Me and Max are cooking up some popcorn and watching nasty Nick at Night.
Alphabetically. Jim Powers, I hate you.
Go back to the stock room.
Oh, my God. Yeah, exactly. All right, so we have our next match here. Hugh Morris taking on Brad Armstrong. Lead us through it. 4 minutes and 15 seconds of what the hell did we just watch?
Yeah, and that's exactly where I'm just going to leave it at that. Hugh Morris, man, good gimmick, bad follow through. I don't know what it was. Obviously, we learned that he turned out to be a very, very fucking big dirtbag in the wrestling industry.
Probably.
Probably is it. Shit, man. 4 minutes, 15 seconds too long. Who gives a fuck? I feel bad for Brad Armstrong in the spot because it's not funny. It's not humorous. It was terrible. So, yeah, I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, to bring this full circle to the newsletter, we mentioned the fake Diesel, fake Razor, and it's about the guy who makes the gimmick. And I think if you had someone a little bit, I'm not saying he wasn't a talented wrestler, because for a big dude, he can move around, but if you had someone a little bit more gripping for the audience to watch, maybe the Hugh Morris gimmick would have gotten over better, because it was a cool gimmick, like you said. It had an interesting flair to it, and it had staying power for sure. He was involved in WCW for a significant amount of time, but his claim to fame will forever be the first person to ever job out to Goldberg. And I guess, some people remember him from 2003 run. He was in the Rumble, and also to the Invasion. So
that was the best thing you think he was a part of was Austin going, "Is that funny? What? Is that Hugh Morris?" And that was it. I think that was the last time we seen him on TV. And then he became a really, really bad trainer.
He became Bill DeMott. I know he was in the 2004 or 2003 Rumble where they bullied Daniel Puder. Or maybe it was 05.
Yeah.
And it was him, Holly, Benoit, and Eddie all beat the shit out of Puder.
Yeah.
And
that's where he grew his balls, because that's what he did for the rest of his career in WWE. He would just bully the fuck out of people. So good shit. I've met Bill a few times. He's actually a really good guy, but not under your working standard.
Let's just ring that bell.
Ding ding. What? Is that funny?
So, hour number 2, our hosts are Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Mike Tenay. Arn and Woman try to convince Liz to say she's going to be coming out, and she keeps saying it's complicated. Meanwhile, Bischoff exits the announce station to go find Randy Savage and then tries to confront the New World Order. So things are about to get crazy. So as we move into the second hour, we have the next match is Arn Anderson with Woman at his side. They want Liz there. She's not. Defeating Chris Jericho. Match goes 5 minutes and 35 seconds. Finish sees Jericho, who's the new Ring of Honor champion, by the way, goes for the line salt, misses it, gets dropped with a DDT for the clean 3. Jericho, in a losing effort, felt like a babyface squash, honestly. Shivani was joined by Heenan and Tenay for the rest of the night, as we mentioned, and there was teasing of the upset that Jericho would get the win here, and it's weird to even say like Jericho would be an upset, but yeah, Arn Anderson got the win, and I still think this is a rehabilitation project of making the Horsemen look less like geeks because of how they presented them through that Fall Brawl build. Yeah. They're trying to make right by Arn Anderson and Ric Flair and company. Yeah.
Yeah, until Kevin Nash starts dressing as them and coming out with coolers. But it's totally understandable.
Very true.
And so, who got the last laugh after this match?
Hugh Morris, actually.
Arn Anderson doesn't have a job anymore. Chris Jericho still does.
He's the Ring of Honor champion, damn it.
There you go. Yeah.
He's the WWE ECW Ring of Honor champion. ROH is dead.
We're live.
ROH is dead. Hold on. WrestleMania 4 noise.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of noises in this thing. It's awesome.
I mean, that's what Before Our Time was all about. Is just a bunch of noise. Bunch of noise coming from a bunch of boys. That's
If you hear the noise, it's just the boys. All right, so we have the NWO head about the t-shirt. Giant is hyping up, saying it makes you look skinny.
It makes you look skinny on TV, gorilla.
Backstage, Liz has her bags packed, and she said she's ready to go. And we get Lex Luger versus formerly known as IRS and Wall Street. Lead us through this. Again, match is 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Give a minute back to the Dean Malenko match. Are we kidding?
Give 2 minutes back. Give 5 minutes back to the Dean Malenko match. This is where, like, I started losing my shit about Lex Luger. Like, I couldn't stand him anymore. Like, he was this snooty prick when he was working with Sting. The Chicago promo that fucking he did before Uncensored, I like, that was drawing the line there. What part of Chicago am I from? I don't fucking know. I'm just Lex Luger. Like, you know, and then Animal and Hawk are like, who the fuck are you, dude? So, yeah, I mean, it's nothing good at all. I mean, for 7 minutes, this was a good time to get up, go get some popcorn, you know, kiss your kids, kiss your wife. I'm going to go back and watch this fucking dumpster fire of a Nitro right now. And you think IRS is winning the match, you are absolutely wrong. Lex Luger hits him with that torture rack, and the real torture rack was having to watch this match because I tapped out 5 seconds into it.
As you mentioned, Wall Street never had a chance to get this win.
Never.
You know, to make up for accusing Sting of stabbing the entire company in the back by joining up with the New World Order, WCW adds the likeness of his face on the hood of the WCW car, so Sting is now a part of Busch Racing. But that does not enough to get Sting back until he shows up as Crow. So,
yeah,
you know. Our next match here, before we move into the main event, we have one match between the Faces of Fear with Jimmy Hart taking on Rock and Roll Express. This was a fun match, 8 minutes and 25 seconds. We saw the Faces of Fear get the win, and man, listen, I like the Rock and Roll Express when they're on my TV, so I'm happy when they're here. They're never they've gotten tag title shots. They've been involved when, you know, they wrestled Flair and Arn in Carolina, which was cool.
Yeah.
But they're not used nearly enough here, and they're probably here for a cup of coffee in 1996, and they're taking bookings whenever they're in the area. But we see the ending at the match. We have the Face of Fear beating on Gibson some more until Public Enemy runs in and makes the save. Rocco takes a backdrop while Grunge takes a chop block from Ming. Not only that, the Barbarian holds him down while Ming splashes the knee, and they're trying to break his leg. So, looks like they're building up towards Faces of Fear versus Public Enemy for the titles. To get cold feet, take the titles off of Public Enemy. We never quite see that feud for the titles, but I don't know. Faces of Fear is kind of interesting to me. I like Ming and the Barbarian.
I will put Ming and Barbarian over all day long, especially when they're beating the shit out of Public Enemy. I take everything I just said back. That was the best part of this Nitro, was watching the Faces of Fear fuck up Public Enemy. Yeah, it was good. I love, like I said, I love Ming, Barbarian. They sold the shit out of themselves so well to where, like, wet spots every time I would see them. I'm like, oh god, like, these guys are gonna fucking murder somebody.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. They were scary motherfuckers.
So it is time for our main event, and well, we get one more NWO party segment, but not great. I mean, it's just, again, more hanging out, just emphasizing that New World Order is cooler than everybody else on the roster, and they're having a party in a hotel room, and they're not big enough to be. You're not cool enough to be invited, and they also don't have to be on your goddamn show. So Chris Benoit comes to the ring with Steve McMichael and Deborah, and he takes on Rick Steiner. This match only goes 4 minutes and 25 seconds. It was very short, should have went longer. Both these guys, I'm not sure if they've matched up many more times or since. It seems like it could have been much better, like I mentioned.
Good
much shorter. We saw Benoit getting the win here. The belly-to-belly superplex, and then Steiner gets hit with the Halliburton briefcase after breaking up the belly-to-belly superplex that Steiner was going to deliver on him. 4 minutes and 25 seconds. It was really good from what we saw, and it was nice to see both these guys getting a chance in the main event. But it's, again, too short for my liking. I would have liked to see them go, again, strip off some of the minutes from the Wall Street match. Strip off some of the minutes from like maybe one of these Hollywood Hogan segments where he's talking to kids about, the New World Order taking over and why his mom would like the product, and give it to this wrestling match, because Benoit and Steiner, man, two of the best to ever do it.
Yeah, who wants to sit on my lap, dude? Like, it's fucking weird, all right?
So before we go to the end, we head over to the New World Order party one last time. That's 4 if you're counting at home. Liz is there. They've offered her a contract, and she's really unsure about the decision. Hogan's offering her movie deals. Then again, who knows what she's going to make a decision. Vincent walks in with a present for Hulk as Elizabeth leaves with a lot to ponder. As she's walking down the hallway, Randy Savage bolts over to her and yells at her, accusing her of setting him up for something. And oh boy, Randy Savage is pissed. And that's how we go off the air. Cool ending.
Yeah.
Liz is always kind of in the middle of all the drama as they used her, and they used her so beautifully in WWF. And WCW has been weird how they booked her, but they're using her appropriately here. She's in the middle of Hogan and Savage once again. And that's sort of the crux of that WrestleMania 5 build, and here we are again, 1996.
Yeah,
Liz is in the middle of
powers. There's still friction. They get some shit going on. Wild times.
So we move into our October 7th, 1996 Nitro, live from Savannah, Georgia, the Civic Center. All of our champions are not the same. Everybody but Harlem Heat, who now has the tag titles, won it back on October 5th in between. So they show the finish prior to the show. Harlem Heat and Public Enemy wrestled on Saturday night. A title change happened there. You could check that match out on Peacock if you want to go back and check it out. The match exists. You guys can check it out. But take our word for it. Harlem Heat got the win here. We also get a flashback to last week where Randy Savage heads to NWO's suite and finds Liz there. And he goes ballistic. So a nice little thing to open the show.
Yeah. Get a little actual heat, not just Harlem Heat. You're getting a little Macho Heat too.
We get the opening, which is a rematch from the Saturday night. I don't know why they just didn't do the title change here. Maybe they want to make people watch Saturday night, so similar to the Rampage issue where you want people watching your product, but seems like the title change should have been done on Nitro in front of more eyes.
Yes, I couldn't agree with you more, and it was very much the same match, minus Harlem Heat didn't get an entrance here.
Right, so the WCW World Tag Team Champions are on the line. Harlem Heat with Sister Sherry and Colonel Rob Parker taking on Public Enemy. As you mentioned, Harlem Heat retains the titles. Harlem Heat doesn't get an entrance. They start the show without it. Both teams are trading huge shots, very heavy-handed shots, and we saw a finish here where we get the 3 where Booker covers Johnny Grunge when there's a chair involved, so there's a lot of chaos. Definitely an overbooked finish.
Come on, man.
Why didn't Harlem Heat just go over clean? Like I don't get why they wouldn't just go over clean, because as we mentioned, Parker gets involved. Stevie Ray clips him in the bad knee, and he's not done. Stevie Ray whacks him in the knee with the chair. Booker hits Grunge with the knee and then drops on the chair on the knee, and the chair goes out. Ref didn't see it. Booker covers for the 3. 10 minutes and 14 seconds. Not a good opener as far as quality goes, but that's what you're kind of getting. Hopefully we're seeing the last of Public Enemy as far as in the title picture. Let's move on from somebody else. There have been 2... I know they held the title for 10 days or so.
Yeah.
But I don't want them anywhere near Harlem Heat anymore. I feel like these two teams are too connected at this point.
No, they're a dark match kind of company. Those are guys you get to come out and hype the crowd up before the show.
Right.
Put a couple table match. We'll throw them through the table, fucking hit with garbage can. We're fucking rock and Johnny Grudge, man. Come on, man. What are you doing? What are you doing putting the Public Enemy up against Booker T, man?
So in the back, a limo pulls up, and we have another debut. It's Jeff Jarrett, as I mentioned earlier in the show. Jeff Jarrett's here. Could have been the 4th man, 3rd man, 5th man. He's not. His intentions are not known yet about what he's going to be. Is he with WCW? Is he with NWO?
He turned out to be like the 36th man.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he wants to be the slap nuts.
Yeah.
He was like WCW Silver. I mean, NWO Silver back in the day, right? That's like... We're not doing that one.
Yeah. Interesting, though. Very interesting.
So 2 days ago on Saturday night, before I let you take on the Diamond Dallas Page and Jim Powers match, Nick Patrick said that he's going to be fining Randy Savage $1 million for his completely unmitigated attack that leaves him having to work injured. We get Nick Patrick with the neck brace on eventually. This becomes sort of his gimmick. Really awesome. $1 million. Nick Patrick is lining his pockets. I love shady referee Nick Patrick. I'm putting it out there. I like it.
Yeah. No, listen, it's funny. It was new. It was comical. It was good shit and absurd. $1 million. They did fine MJF $1 million for throwing Shivani on the ground. You piece of shit prick.
I want to listen. Just don't touch Tony Schiavone. It scares me.
He's okay.
Be nice to Tony.
Medical checked him out. He came back in commentary. I know you were live in the crowd, but you didn't hear him. But he was pissed, but a little disheveled. He was good though. He's doing okay.
he is right. But you know who's not doing okay? It's Jim Powers taking on DDP. Tell us what happened here.
Fresh through the curtain out of his Target uniform, Jim Powers is out there. Him and DDP, you know, they're doing the feeling out. Yeah, hold on. Listen, bro, we're sitting in the ring, right? We're looking each other in the eyes with the death stare, and all of a sudden, the eyes of the diamond cutter come up and bang! Hits him out of it. Boom! 2 minutes, 35 seconds. I mean, this was, I think, if the diamond cutter wasn't as big as it was, I don't think Randy Orton would be as good of a wrestler as he is now. Let's stand by that, too. Not shitting on Randy Orton. He's a very good technical wrestler, but the RKO and the diamond cutter both have that one thing in common. They hit it out of nowhere, bro. Just like your DDP yoga. It's good. So it's nice.
Yeah, and DDP week after week is getting more and more over. We see the emergence of a potential main event star. We're only a year away from that big moment he has as the people's champ, and the fans are getting behind him, and I know he's working heel here. Man, DDP, he has something electric, and I think he's catching fire here, and we're seeing the emergence of a huge megastar that becomes a huge foundational piece for WCW. They need him.
Yeah.
They need someone to go against the New World Order, and he becomes that guy. And I'm glad that we're really seeing the ground floor of this, because he was kind of goofy in the beginning of 1996 with the gimmicks and the cigar and the rings and the necklaces. He was doing everything but working on his character, and the diamond cutter got over, and everything else followed. The charisma followed, and he just became very comfortable in the ring, and the package came together.
Yeah, and fun little tie to the diamond cutter. Since I missed you so much for the wrap up,
Let's do it.
Paige comes out, right? She's wearing the FE code. I shoot out a tweet. I'm like, oh my god, look, FE's code's all elite. And my buddy Rob's like,
hold on 1 second.
Oh, we're there we go. Boom, we're back. No, but my buddy Rob sends out a tweet and he goes, FE's coat is over like the diamond cutter, and he's like, everybody owes FE 10 cents every time they use it. He's not wrong, man. It's fucking crazy. But
yeah, for sure. That was FE's jacket. That's the first thing I thought too. GCW Mark I am.
Yeah, absolutely. FE liked it. That was good. I got a little rub from FE. I got like 300 fucking likes on the tweet. It was good stuff. Fun time.
That's amazing. That's amazing. We got to show that in the GCW show next time we do it. So
yeah, right.
Top fucking tweets.
I get to be in it, man. It's fucking GCW Inception. I'm all for it.
So before we move on to the next match, Mike Tenay brings out Randy Savage, who then brings out the driver for the Slim Jim car in the Busch Series to brag about finishing and placing at, you heard it here first, number 10 in a race over the weekend. I know there's a lot of cars, but like we're hyping up number 10 here. He also says the car that has the NWO logo did not even finish and ended their day by slamming into a wall. Maybe that's symbolism going into Halloween Havoc. Apparently, Macho Man took some solace of victory in this.
Yeah.
And then Liz confronts Randy, and he just walks off with his now best friend, the Slim Jim driver. So,
brother, yeah.
So, the Slim Jim car is fresh, man. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool car.
Yeah, no, it's I was never a racing fan, but I did enjoy the crossover. Always, I was always like, damn, that's cool. But like,
Southern wrestling, like Southern sports, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
like the Atlanta Braves, NASCAR, what fried chicken, barbecue food, and
Macho Man
Randy Savage. All right, so we have next here, we have the Faces of Fear taking on High Voltage. This is a 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Faces of Fear absolutely murder High Voltage here. The Face of Fear take turns dishing out power bombs onto the finish. Man catapults Rage into a kick of fear while Barbarian gets the 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Again, huge Face of Fear mark. I'm a big fan of them. Like what they're doing. Hopefully we see a tag title run at the end of 1996. I'm pulling for it, but I'm not sure if we're going to see the titles come off Harlem Heat for a while.
No, but you know what? We need more love for the Token Death Grip because we don't see that shit enough.
Absolutely.
So good. So good.
We move on to very appropriate for you to take. This is the first Glacier match you get to cover. So I'm going to play some beautiful music for you, a little daydreaming music. You can cover the Glacier match in depth. This is a good song, I think.
It is. It's got some vibes. We got a little. me adjust that microphone a little bit. Glacier, the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour. Got the frost but never lost. He comes out to the ring and defeats Mike. I'm calling him Wiener. It's Mike Wiener. Who's cousins with Mike Cock, which is funny. It's weird. But yeah, man, Glacier comes in, does his Mortal Kombat shtick as he should, and he's still rocking. He's much like the Fiend used to wrestle under the red light. Glacier, maybe that's the key. They bring back the Fiend, and Glacier's the only guy to beat him because he's gonna have the blue light, and the Fiend's got the red light, right? So yeah, he hits him with a reverse roundhouse kick, which is very timely for 1996. A lot of roundhouses going on, but not a lot of reverse roundhouses, so that makes him stand out. But we get 2 minutes, 26 seconds. Is the cryonic kick? Is that what's going on there? That's what we're calling that, because I think the original cryonic kick was a shit move for the business. Long live Glacier. Finish him.
Amazing. It was
good.
Honestly, the best thing we ever done on the show. It's all downhill from here. As we move to hour number 2, Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, Mike Tenay take control of the announce booth, and we get Jeff Jarrett immediately into action. Here he is, Jeff Jarrett, taking on Hugh Morris. And since he's a former WWF alumni, they continue to talk about, is he going to go to the NWO? Bischoff thinks he's here to join them right off the bat. And looking at him right now with the big sprawled out hair, the big smile, I can't imagine. This had me thinking about you and I having those conversations all those weeks ago about if he turned out to be the third guy at Bash the Beach. Imagine he comes out and he's the guy. Like,
yeah,
he didn't have the guitar thing going yet for him. Like it's not like he hit the guitar on Savage. Like, what would be the move? Like, so he runs out, crowd goes mild, and what does he do? Like, what would have the impact on the bit? It would be horrible.
Yeah. No, and he's also using Flair's finish, the fucking figure four. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on. Bro, come on.
So I think the post-1998 SummerSlam Jeff Jarrett could work. The Don't Piss Me Off Jarrett with the guitar. Ooh. I think he has more of an edge. Again, would not have the same industry impact on the business as Hogan did, but as far as matching up with the style of Hall and Nash, I think it would have been something to build around.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have the same impact, and eventually we did see that level of Jeff Jarrett involved, and I like the Jeff Jarrett stuff they're doing in GCW. Well, they were doing in GCW before he stood up Effie, trying to get his win back. But I like what they were doing with like the black coat and the cowboy hat. I think that could have worked.
The Last Outlaw would have been the favorable NWO Jeff Jarrett, but it wouldn't have made sense in '96 because you're like, this guy's like 20. Like, why is he the Last Outlaw? Fuck this guy.
So Hugh Morris tries to get some offense in, but we get an odd swinging neck breaker for a 2 count. Hugh Morris hits a power slam, misses a guillotine leg drop, which sets up straight for the aforementioned figure 4 leg lock that he is now using as his finish. And this would never go in WWF. You wouldn't let someone else take the leg drop as a finish. Why is it okay for Flair? Just like subtle digs at Flair, like things like this. If he came in as an outsider, I'd be like, dude, you can't use the figure 4. Yeah. That's Flair shit. Don't touch it.
Brother, take a seat real quick. We have to have a talk. You ain't using that finish here, brother.
But like, that's also like someone bringing... All right, so think about Stone Cold. And I know Flair isn't, at the time in WCW, wasn't as white hot as Stone Cold was in the 90s. But at the same time, you do this. Someone comes in doing the stunner. Like, if you're bringing... what the hell's his name? The Ace Crusher. Johnny Ace comes in and does the Ace Crusher, saying he's active. Or Disco Inferno comes in the mid card and he's doing the stunner. Like, no. Yeah. How about no? You're changing your finish, kid.
How about no, you goofy bastard?
So 4 minutes and 7 seconds, after which Tony gets a word with Jeff Jarrett. Because he pulled up in a black limo, everyone's saying he's part of the New World Order. Seems to be the conversation driven and, building up some drama. We have the next match here. I'll let you take control. We got to move a little bit fast because we got about a couple of minutes left. Arn Anderson taking on Renegade.
And what a long, overrated match this was. Renegade, Arn. Obviously, we love Arn, but yeah, not bad. You get the good old DDT 707. That's your match length there. Arn Anderson, he's just not doing enough, but he's still being fucking Arn. He's not quite Glock Anderson here, but he's kicking ass, and that's all that matters, man.
Yeah, decent match, like you said. I mean, getting some wins, and they're trying to build up his reputation back from being squashed at Fall Brawl and looking like
until they tear him down next year. Yeah,
until they're about to tear him down. But we have Lex Luger tearing down Squire David Taylor in a quick match, 2 minutes and 35 seconds. Taylor. With the torture rack, Luger was high-fiving fans, and then Arn Anderson blindsides him with a chair shot after the match. He continues to hit him with more chairs, and their feuds continue, and they're building up towards Halloween Havoc. We have Rick Steiner taking on Chris Benoit in a rematch from the main event of last week's Nitro. If you want to take control, here.
Hey, Deborah.
Oh, and Scott Steiner's at ringside, by the way, too. So this is the first time we've seen him.
I mean, good shit, right? I mean, come on. Steiner's and Benoit, it sounds like fucking peanut butter and jelly. It sounds like chocolate and peanut butter. It should be so good. It's just all right. It's like Mr. Pibb compared to the Dr. Pepper. You know, it should be better. But it's okay. It was a good match. It was probably one of the best matches of the night. We got 12 minutes and 58 seconds. Good back and forth. Good beating the shit out of each other. But I don't know, man. It was missing something. Maybe it's having too many people on the outside. Too much cluster fucking going around in my pure pro wrestling that Hawk does not like. Hawk hates that pure pro wrestling. He wants stories, yes. Man.
He wants
stories. But this was a pure pro wrestling match. I don't like it. I don't like it at all, man.
And maybe our tolerance has become a little bit different, but there's been a lot of shitty wrestling on Nitro, to put it lightly.
Yeah.
And so this match really hit different for me. I thought it was really good because we've been watching some.
Likewise.
Yeah, I thought this match was really good. Like the hard-hitting nature, as you mentioned, it was technically sound, and guys went out there and worked hard for almost 15 minutes, like 12 minutes and 58 seconds. No, especially in this era of Nitro, like they weren't going this long. They didn't let anybody just go this long. It was a good match.
Yeah, it absolutely.
It was messy, though. You're right.
It was a little messy. Too much shit going on. Not enough storytelling.
Who's that guy?
Know. Who's that guy? I don't know. I don't know who the Steiner brothers are. I like Hangman Adam Page. He reminds me of a strapping young lad.
All right, so our main event allegedly was advertised as U.S. Heavyweight Champion Ric Flair versus Randy Savage, but as we know, because the newsletter, we are Dave Meltzer subscribers, we know that there wouldn't be a match because of his injury. After Randy Savage makes his entrance, we cut backstage to the Nasty Boys telling Hogan and DiBiase that they have their backs. And Flair never shows, and we see why as the New World Order beat the absolute hell out of him in the back. Vincent tries to get the camera out of here. He's saying something. Nash does the thug life thing, as you guys saw in the graphic. The whole time this is happening, Liz is standing in the background scared to death. So Giant takes Flair's U.S. belt and then backs Liz towards the ring. More chaos. We get the emergence of Hogan. And what Savage doesn't see is Hollywood Hogan coming up from behind. We definitely get more chaos. Savage gets beat down. Hogan delivers a couple leg drops. And he delivers more black spray paint outline on Savage's body. And Hall and Nash join the two men in the ring to end the show. And Hogan yells at Liz saying that he owns her body, heart, soul, and mind, which definitely didn't resonate well with Randy Savage, who's laying there probably like, don't say that.
Motherfucker.
As usual, for the New World Order, we get trash thrown in the ring. And Hogan is just talking absolute shit to Randy Savage, as we saw in the graphic, Savage laid out. Hogan now sets his eyes on destroying the television sets. He wants to destroy the production crew. Everybody leaves except for Bischoff, who is like, I'm not leaving, this is my show. And until Six drives up in an NWO monster truck. We've seen chaotic endings. I don't know if we've ever seen a chaotic ending like this. I gotta say, I know they did false advertise the match. They never had intention of having Flair have this match with Savage.
Yeah.
But man, was I sports entertained. This was amazing.
Well, you know what? It's also a very, very standout thing. This was before Stone Cold was running the beer trucks. This was before he was the guy causing the chaos. WWF took a very, very small card out of this. Man, monster trucks. Hell yeah, that works. Brock Lesnar forklifted the ring. They're still doing it to this day with weird, goofy shit, but it makes for good fucking you're glued. You're like, what the hell are they gonna do with that monster truck? Obviously not much, but it was still the presence of it being there was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, vehicles in wrestling are cool, whether it be monster trucks or the beer truck or cars
Limos,
being destroyed.
yeah, you name
limos, yeah. Stone Cold
Cement
had
trucks.
the pickup, the cement truck. Really cool vehicles. I mean, also the ATV that what Lesnar rode for a bit, and Austin was riding around as when he was the sheriff of Raw.
Zamboni. Nobody talks about the Zamboni enough, man. That was one of the best. Tyson and
Eddie
Austin.
Guerrero's lowrider. Come on, let's just.
We should do a whole special about vehicles in pro wrestling.
Yeah, exactly. The tank that Rusev came out to at WrestleMania.
Yeah, the black sedan Rikishi hit Austin with.
Yeah, exactly. The dent is still there. The grease mark from Austin's head is still there. So that's where they leave us. We're out of time for Nitro, and then we have the buildup of Halloween Havoc. So October 27th, it's going to be a huge event from Las Vegas, sponsored by Slim Jim. And Slim Jim has to be very happy with the build of the card. And this is how you build a card, man. We're still weeks out of the show, and there's how many matches? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 matches announced. We got the world champion Hogan taking on Savage, the U.S. champion Ric Flair taking on the Giant, which we know is not going to happen. The World Tag Team titles on the line. The Harlem Heat taking on the Outsiders, which is going to be awesome. Chris Benoit and Steve McMichael versus the Face of Fear. Luger versus Anderson. Guerrero versus DDP for the Battle of the Ring. And, of course, Rey Mysterio Jr. and Dean Malenko, our favorite wrestler.
I feel the tag team heat coming on.
Awesome. That is an awesome.
Right fucking here. Yeah.
That is an awesome.
Nice, right?
It looks like the Trios title, if I'm being honest.
A little bit, right? Somebody's got a good mind for WCW over here.
Someone's been watching Shot Nostalgia, and I think his name is TK Tony Khan. But let's move into the chaser here and talk about our favorite moments of WCW Nitro. All right, here are the chaser. Every week we will pick our favorite part of the 2 nights of wrestling. 4 hours of greatness of WCW Monday Night Nitro. What was your favorite part, Mike Belcaster?
You know, usually it's really hard for me to pick because there's so much good stuff, but this was really hard to pick because there was so little good stuff.
True.
And then, you know, you would think it would be like quite the opposite. And you know what? I'm just gonna go buck fucking wild this week. I'm going with the Faces of Fear, just in general. Beautiful Ming Barbarian all day long, singing that same song, beating the fuck out of everybody.
Hell yeah. And I love the match that Alex Wright and Dean Malenko had. It was just too short for it to be the best part of my 2 nights of wrestling. I have to go with the ending of the second night of Nitro we covered from October 7th.
Yeah.
Chaos with the NWO and Savage and the spray paint and Liz and the monster truck. The Thug Life with the bandana on Kevin Nash. Epic segment that I've never seen. Like, I know they show a lot of different highlights throughout the network, and we see these like Monday Night War documentaries. I've never seen this. So this hit a little different when I watched it. It was it was really awesome to see all the different personalities that are involved, and just made you appreciate the magic that WCW was creating on a weekly basis here. And when it was good, it was really goddamn good. And when you talked about last week with the chaos being bad and disjointed, this felt purposeful, and it built up like 4 different matches all in one segment. It was a beautiful storytelling. Like, if Tony Khan wants to watch anything from WCW, pull this, man. We've never seen any matches being built. I think for Forbidden Door, that end of the Go Home show where they had all the matches intertwined with each other.
That was cool.
But they've never done any of this for their actual, just their Go Home shows. Everything is so segmented. WCW is like this interwoven world that everyone is involved in.
Yeah, and everybody pulls something from it. Even WWE is still pulling shit from WCW and AEW as well. And listen, all they need is that storytelling aspect on AEW. And once you hook Hawk, you got America under your fucking palm, okay? Like, that's it, man. He's the key. I don't like it, but I like it. Like, I don't know what to say.
Short shorts, hemp, hooded sweatshirts, and Pavlov the dog, baby. And storytelling is Hawk. He's versatile.
Yeah, he's a very intricate depth-filled person, but a good person at the bottom of the day. So
Hawk is always welcome on the wrap-up, man. You guys rocked it last night. I know he was talking shit about me on there, but that's fine. I get it.
He's just talking. What wasn't he talking shit about?
No, he was saying he's now Team A. He's obsessed with being the A team. Like, you know what? You want to say the A team, but we know here in Shot Nostalgia, we're actually the A team.
That's true. Very true.
We are the wrap-up show with Tom, but we are, you and I are the A team. Shot Nostalgia to me is the best 2 hours of content you're going to get anywhere. I'm just being honest with you.
You ain't wrong, man. But it's also, I think Hawk is so, he's that pullout that never really gets there. So when he finally comes out, he's going to talk all that shit, man.
I love him. I love Hawk.
Yeah.
Hawk.
He's well deserved to talk shit. It was actually I will give that. It was a very nice sit-down conversational piece for the wrap-up this week.
It needed soft music, like I don't know, put the little vinyl record on, and just really low in the background, a little crackle of a fire, like the Yule log from Christmas.
Next time we gotta get some red wine, some candles. Like I said, I'll wear the white, the fucking napkin over my shoulder. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the All Elite Wrap Up. I'm Hulk. We're hanging out with
we're here for the wrestling hour.
Yeah,
what you guys feel?
We're here. I don't know why my Hawk impression went so weird Southern. He's not even Southern, but that's how he talks. He just sounds like this now. That's what we're going with. Fuck Tony Khan.
With that being said, let's close the tab. The lights are coming on the bar. Let's get some shilling in. We've got 10 minutes to talk everything about it. I wish we could be saying that before our time's coming up, but they will be returning soon. Just stay tuned for that. We'll continue Flashback Friday, carry that banner. And we'll get our weekend started very quickly. Shake that hand, Stunning Steve. Mike Belcaster, what's going on in the tavern universe for you or elsewhere? Hype up your stuff, man. My man.
Yeah, dude. I'm hopefully I'll be back in full force next week. I had a little bit of a hiatus due to a little bit of a being under the weather. But when I pull up, I pull up. I pulled up for the wrap up. I pulled up for Fig Night, and damn right, I pulled up for Shadow Nostalgia. I let J-Bo get a little time in on that Sessions game over there. It's good for him to be alive, pal. Yeah, go ahead. We're live, pal. But yeah, man, where I am at every day of the week. I'm here slanging shit at the Turnbuckle Tavern. We got Fig Night. We got Sessions. We got the All Elite Wrap Up. We got fucking GCW. We got the Shot of Nostalgia, baby. We're doing good. We're doing great. We're living the dream.
I'm playing around with some music to put us on the outro, and the Rock one was actually Raw Downs. I'm not going to steal their gimmick, so I clicked that one. It wasn't the one I wanted. Into Space feels a little good right now. I like this one. Let's do some hyping on my end. As you mentioned, Shot Nostalgia will continue, and I'll show the banners again because, I'm very proud of what we're doing here as our drive through 1996. So next week's episode, the One Bad Chad will be joining us, talking about the emergence of Crow Sting. He's returning, more New World Order chaos. Chad will give his perspective, freshly watching all the episodes. And then following that, episode 25 coming up, Halloween Havoc, to get your spooky season started. Macho Man Randy Savage versus Hulk Hogan for the WCW World Title, and much more than that. We have the Elizabeth factor. We have the fact that he's trying to protect everybody from the New World Order. It's going to be a great session of wrestling. Let's get into other wrestling here. As I guys mentioned last week, we have the 2022 Gold Rush Rumble coming up October 15th, 2022. Victory Pro Wrestling. Turnbuckle Tavern will be there. I'll be giving out stickers, selling some shirts. Make sure you guys come out and say hi to me. Buy tickets starting at $25. Make sure you guys are there in person to see the Gold Rush Rumble. 20 competitors, only one winner. One of the best shows you're going to see from Victory Pro Wrestling all year.
And only $25. I mean, come on.
It's awesome.
Fucking great.
Come see me. Say hi to the Ace. I saw some of you guys at Grand Slam last night. Gave some stickers out. You guys, I'm always willing to hang out with you guys, and I appreciate some of the beers that were bought for me. I do. You guys are awesome, so I appreciate that. I had a good time with the wrestling fans at Grand Slam. We're going to also hype up something else here. Remarkable Wrestling Halloween Haunted Havoc happening on October 21st, a Friday night from the Deer Park Sportatorium. You guys check this out. Another great night of wrestling ahead. I'll leave it at that. I'm not going to tell you exactly why I'm hyping it up. I'm going to let you know I'll be in the building.
Ooh.
I may be part of the show. We don't know. I'm not confirming or denying, but you do want to be in the building. More details will follow. We have 2 matches announced so far. Check this one out. Miracle Generation taking on PPA. As I mentioned, at the door, you get your tickets, or just buy them in advance. $25. Bell times at 8 p.m. Front row $35. You do not want to miss this from MYWC Sportatorium. You know, if you want to see the old ECW entrance, where'd the brick wall go? Well, it's here in Deer Park, Long Island.
Yes.
Also, we have another great match here involved. Above the Rest taking on the Brick City Boys. You're not going to want to miss this match as well. Some spooky action. It's very in alignment to what we're doing here with WCW. It feels very appropriate because we're moving towards Halloween Havoc. We had Haunted Halloween Havoc as well. As I mentioned in this card, Halloween Haunted Havoc is going to be a fun show. And again, I'll give you more details as it follows. You guys can follow my social media, but you're going to want to be in the building because the Ace is going to be there as well. You guys can check me out. Remarkable Wrestling. I'll leave it there. You guys will get more details. If you know, you know. If you know, you know.
Brick City Boys do not play games. I will tell you that from experience. All right, those guys are out for some brutal punishment, and you can only see it right here at Halloween Haunted Havoc, Friday, October 21st, 2022, NYWC Sportatorium. Sorry, it's not my neck of the woods, but I do have a Deer Park here in Illinois, which also hosts wrestling, which is very fucking awkward. We're going to have Deer Park versus Deer Park in a War Games match.
The Deer Park invasion, brother.
Our Deer Park runs wild on you, dude.
Our Deer Park is it's on Long Island. It's technically Suffolk County. So if you guys are familiar with the Suffolk County, Nassau's closer to New York City and Queens. I can give you guys a lesson. We were just in Queens last night at Grand Slam, and what a time it was. Again, dude, this was a lot of fun. And we're going to continue hyping up the other stuff going on. Super busy through the fall. I'm sort of super busy throughout the winter. I'm just grateful to be here on the journey with all you guys, especially you, Mike Belcaster. We're so great to be back here with you. Yeah. All the love to you, my friend. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be back with your beautiful self. It's good. I'm having ace withdrawals. You were in town for so long. I was having such a good time, and I was like, damn, I need more friends.
Well, my hotel was so nice in Hoffman Estates or Schmallenberg, Illinois. I was thinking about staying forever. So.
Schmallenberg. I'm calling it. It's Schaumburg, but yes, we'll call it. It's Schmallenberg from now on. Oh my goodness, it's Schmallenberg, Illinois. Right here at the Now Arena, we're live in Schmallenberg.
All right, well. Like I mentioned, I'll be back in the AEW wrap-up. I appreciate Belcaster and Hawk holding it down. We may be having a GCW show. I may be lucky enough to be joining you guys for that. Stay tuned for future interview sessions. We're going to be Visits the Tavern. You guys check out the past interview. Sal Savelli was visiting the tavern. He also appeared on my channel as well, hyping up this weekend, tomorrow. You guys, if you're in the area, check him out. He's main eventing against Dickie Rods in a last man standing match at the aforementioned MYWC Sportatorium. So support independent wrestling in any way you guys can. It goes a very long way. This is the lifeblood of professional wrestling. This is how the future talent of the business make their mark and hone their craft. And it's such a good experience. To me, heart and soul, the lifeblood of my fandom starts and ends with independent wrestling.
Grassroots, baby. Grassroots, baby.
But unfortunately, they are in my ear. Eric Bischoff is panicking. Vincent is standing in front of him right now. Vincent is saying, you're not going anywhere. But unfortunately, we gotta go. We're out of time!